Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. Allincrypto here, and welcome back, guys, for another daily cryptocurrency market update. As always, we have a lot to get through. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin's volumes and volatility to kick things off. We are seeing record low volatility for Bitcoin, literally record low volatility for Bitcoin right now, at a stage where it's on or at the precipice of becoming recognized and facilitated as an asset. So I want to talk a little bit about that to kick things off. We'll look at a number of different things, including trading volumes, looking at the sort of record low volatility. This is something we've highlighted in a number of different ways. We've used the Bollinger Bands, we've looked at volume, we've looked at the historical volatility. There's a number of other things you can look at to actually determine it, but it's all sort of happening around about this 30K level. I think the markets right now are generally in quite an uncertain time period as we've seen inflation raise its head. We know the stock market was at a very obvious level to pull back. There's a little bit of spooking in regards to the markets with Michael Burry's $1.6 billion short. He typically trades with a size of about 180 million. So the fact that he's all of a sudden added $1.6 billion to his account in terms of exposure is interesting. There's a couple of explanations for this. Maybe he's bought puts that have a short date on them and he's got them for pennies on the pound or cents on the dollar, I should say. But we will talk about that, and we'll actually look at 2008 playing out again. And I have a real issue with people saying that 2008 is playing out again now. They've been saying this all year. The market has done nothing but melt their face since. We were max bears in 2020, and you guys will remember it. And then we flipped bullish in 2023, and we still remain bullish. And we think that it's a simple timing problem. We actually agree with the bears on many, many things, but the timing, we think they've got off. We see this period akin to 2006 and 2008 will come later on down the line. So 2006 or early 2007, 2008 comes down the line. And we'll talk about that and look at rates. Then we're going to talk about some big news. I don't know if the SEC has officially said that they're going to approve an ETF in 2024 and that you're not going to get one sooner, or whether this is just speculation. We have looked at, there's a lot of dates, sort of the latest dates being 2024, of course. But there's a lot of dates to come in between them. I don't know if they've denied them all or what's quite gone on there, but we'll look at it. Then we'll do a little bit of boring macro stuff. Obviously, China's having some real issues at the moment, especially with their property. Is this another Evergrande 2.0? I'm not quite sure. I don't believe so. But we'll look at it all in this video. Let's kick things off, as always, with a Bitcoin chart. And a lot of headlines yesterday were talking about a drop, a downside, and actually it was extremely insignificant. And I think this is the kind of nature of the market that we're in right now. People are very much trying to suck blood out of the stone in regards to coming up with headlines and media kind of hot takes in regards to calling this a drop of any significance. It is completely irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, shouldn't say that. It's not significant in my opinion. However, it may lead to more of a significant one. This looks weak. It looks placid. There's nothing really in here. And actually, if you talk about trading volume, new Bitcoin trading volume on the lowest point ever recorded. That is shocking. And again, a nature of the beast that we're in. It's interesting how Bitcoin's never been so close to being recognized as a global asset. And facilitated as that, more importantly. We know the effects that BlackRock's ETF are going to have on the space. And look at what it's doing. I mean, it's just... is comical the right word? I don't think so. But this is all happening around this really, really sort of key level. I do believe that you are going to smash through 30K eventually. The real question is, in what manner do you take that journey? So do you do something like this, which would be akin to what you see over here, and maybe you come back and retest some of this before you use that as a springboard, you smash through this level, and you'll get into this level here in no time at all, guys. I mean, you really will. We have targets from our inverse head and shoulders. We also have a bull flag that are all leading to what we believe is upside. And you will see Could be 2023, early 2024. I think a lot is actually riding on the halvening, not the halvening, sorry, which is coming up. A lot is riding on an ETF, and you will see Bitcoin up in this price range, and altcoins are what we would say stage one moving into stage two. But we've got to see that stage two confirmation before we look for an uptrend taking place. This is very much an uptrend for Bitcoin. We don't have too much beef about it all, but it is interesting that you've got this historic volatility. Look at where you are. And actually, you'll see there's a bullish element to this. This is the polarizing thing, and we've sort of expressed our uncertainty short term. And again, just to drop down, I think the markets have really validated my thoughts on being uncertain, because this is what the markets have done. It's kind of expressed our opinion on not really knowing in the short term what's going to happen, but having that long-term bullish outlook. So if you look at the volatility and look at where you are, the last time you were at this such low volatility, it followed this big up leg here, which may be on the cusp. This is the thing. I wouldn't short this with any kind of leverage at all. And obviously with spot long, yeah, something's coming. It's just and I think I lean more towards a big break, but that could happen on a very slow volume spill into a spike in volatility, coming back to this 30 weekly moving average, which we wouldn't want to see broken. We wouldn't want to see this broken. We've got points at where we flip bearish. We're not there yet. This is, in my opinion, a pullback. It's part of healthy market structure. It's how the game goes. But your volatility is very much squeezing. We'll pop on the Bollinger Bands. Look at this. You're going to get a break. And again, on balance of probabilities, if you look at actually where you are in relation to the squeeze and the side of the Bollinger Bands that you're on, it's kind of suggesting that it's going to be an upside squeeze in opposition with a downside squeeze. It's a fundamental difference, which is why the bears have got wrecked in regards to not recognizing it in this market and this one, certainly from a technical point of view. So the historically low volatility and trading volume is interesting. Is Bitcoin's record low volatility and decline in short-term hodlers a bull market signal? Maybe. On-chain has proven to be unreliable in a market where there's a number of other factors other than just simply on-chain. However, I do think it becomes relevant and is in part relevant. But we'll see. You're going to get a move. As far as we're concerned, this is nothing. The real question for me is, do we need to come down slightly before we go up, or do we just come up from here? We don't expect here or here to be targets until we've seen reason to think so. Moving on. In fact, let's cover this news first before we talk about 2008. SEC delays set deadline for Bitcoin ETF approval to early 2024. Now, the key is in the article here. Again, bottom of the barrel. No price action. People needing to come up with a headline. Delays a set deadline. Okay, so that means they have to approve by. Doesn't mean they can't approve it beforehand. The SEC hasn't actually came out themselves and said that they're not going to approve an ETF this year. However, it does seem somewhat likely, and they are dragging their feet. If you understand the colossalness of an ETF, and it's kind of like the volatility maybe is an indication of people kind of watching and waiting. If you understand the colossalness of an ETF and what that will do for Bitcoin in regards to propel it to an institutional instrument, it is really a big decision. And do they want to give it legitimacy? It does mean that they'll lose their lawsuit against Grayscale. And it means actually they may not have enough power, or it may weaken their sort of power grab in regards to what they're trying to do at the moment. And actually they may delay scenario till 2024 and look to actually go after the people that they think they need to beforehand. So we'll see. Is 2008 happening again? Well, my answer to it is no. When we haven't really covered the macro in a little while, because we did it to death. We really put our take on interest rates and everything in between. Again, S&P, everything pulling back just as expected. You've got the likes of Microsoft that smashed into our inverse head and shoulders targets. Stock market's really led the cryptocurrency market. And is this a bearish or a bullish environment? Well, I think there's polars. Generally, if you're using the stock market as a barometer, it's a bull market. And you don't need to take my word for it. Please go and look at the charts for yourself. So we've done a lot of looking at what happens when rates stop going up. And one, two, not sure what I was. Okay, so this is something that I was looking at a while ago. How many people out there, and this is the thing with rates, a lot of people use rates as a narrative for markets not going up and rate hikes. It's very interesting to me that every single rate hiking regime, which is demonstrated here, to the point where they stop, the stock market actually closes higher from when they started rates to when they stop it. Something most people don't know. Let's get rid of this and let's just look at actually when they stop hiking rates, which we think they're very close to. However, we've got to really watch this inflation story, and the yield may be pointing at higher rates. The real question with rates is who's going to buy the debt, you know? But if you look at the markets, every time they stopped raising interest rates, they went up. And this is what we think we're not too far away from. Even in going into the 2000s, which is a bit of an interesting period for rates, not quite as clear cut because they stopped, it went up, and then they hiked again, and then they stopped again. Maybe something like that is on the horizon this time with an increase in inflation later on down the line. You know, this is the kind of Rubik's Cube that we're trying to figure out with the markets. But we expect the markets to do well, and they have done. It's very much followed the plan with rates going sideways when they do. 2008 didn't occur until rates were on the downside, and we don't foresee that until something happens. We've likened the period that you're currently in to end of 2006, or sort of mid 2006, and we've still got this to come. And this is the thing: if you look at 2008, so this is 2008. Compared to today, doesn't even look anything similar. The set of circumstances that it was under are totally different. You know, there's a lot of what would be the word? Sort of trying to fit a bias. It's fundamentally very different. To me, you look more like here, and markets are going to continue to rally. And then the crash comes later on, which we do think is coming based on the yield curve and a number of things. So we think this is the thing. And by the time the bears have actually flipped bullish, as if they've not had enough reasons to be, then it's probably time to take things down. But we will see. You know, you look more in a period like here. You could even relate rates to that. Going into a crash than you do on the precipice of the crash. So very interesting. You've got a number of interesting things going on in the economy. We see UK headline inflation rate drops sharply. I wouldn't quite say sharply, but it certainly has dropped to 6.8 in July, in line with expectations. And China may miss the 5% growth target this year as downside risks spread. China's an interesting case. The Evergrande situation became very much a everybody situation. We will be keeping an eye on this and keeping you up to date. I think that's all I've got for you guys. So not very probable, in my opinion, that 2008 is going to happen again. I think everybody wants to be Michael Burry. However, this is the thing with Michael Burry. He was very wrong until he was very right. And again, this is what we think. Actually, we think the bears eventually will be right. It's just going to take a little while, and we'd like to be nimble and capture whatever upside comes in the meantime, which we think is probable. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. Remember the plan for Bitcoin. Do a number of things. It can go up and it can go down, or it could go sideways. No, I'm joking. It will. We think that the probable outcome to Bitcoin is one that we've seen previously. This is very much an uptrend, in my opinion. We've made a fundamental assessment of that. We were very early on that at the 5th of January, which was a beautiful call, literally beautiful, and one not made by pretty much anybody. And there's a difference between these two markets. On that note, I'm going to love and leave you. If you enjoyed the content, like, appreciate it. So as a comment, have a wonderful Wednesday, guys. Catch you in the next one.